So our next guest speaker is Jake Fairweather from Fairdeck,
Hello.
an absolute expert in composite decking, I would say. Jake, I'll let you kick off and introduce yourself and what you do, mate.
Yeah, hello. I'm Jake from Fairdeck, and yeah, we just do a lot of decking. And quite recently, we started working with a lot of designers that want decking in their projects, but don't want to do the decking. They just want to do the hard landscaping or the soft landscaping, and there might be just a, a component of the design that has decking or a walkway or something. So we would come in to do that, just that part of the project for them, because we've just joined the APL, and it sometimes gives the landscapers and the designers a little bit of reassurance that we're up to their standard and we can fill in those points of the design for them and stuff. So that's what we were trying to push.
So prior to doing composite decking, you ran a full suite landscaping company, didn't you?
Yeah.
And how long did you do that for?
So I've only ever worked for myself, and we did start taking on some bigger projects, but I found it hard. The more we turned over, the bigger the projects. The weather was just impacting us so much. It's the same for you guys, and whoever carries on doing it, I take my hat off. But I couldn't keep up. It was a little bit too much, so I decided to go more niche and just specialise in what I know best, and that's decking. And yeah, we decided to rebrand as Fairdeck and just focus on decking only. And yeah, it worked.
And how long have you been doing that for? Last 18 months, is it?
Yeah, so we rebranded to Fairdeck about 2 years ago. Well, yeah, March 20. Yeah, so yeah, we're about 18 months to 2 years ago. We rebranded to decking only.
And what sort of areas are you mainly installing in?
So Kent and Sussex mainly, but a lot of designers we're working with now are Surrey based and Buckinghamshire, like throughout to Reading and Marlow and even High Wycombe and places like that. So usually we were Kent down towards Sussex, but now we're around the M25.
And from your experience and the people that you're dealing with, why are people choosing to go with composite over softwood?
So they're only choosing good composites because of the longevity. Because when you're trying to sell a man-made product to a designer, it can be tricky, because it is a man-made product, and a lot of designers just want timber and not composite in their gardens. So which I agree with to a certain extent, but when you're using products like Millboard that we use, and they do have their guarantees, it outweighs the
The investment.
yeah, because not just that, you're not changing it for 25 years, if not more. So if it's built right and you're using a good composite, then there is no need to change that in the 25 years. Most people aren't in that house for 25 years, so they just want it the best they can for the time they're there. And yeah, that's why we use a good composite. And yeah.
But also, I think you've said that you're quite specific about the products that you do purchase, and you do opt for a more premium product.
Yeah.
And do you ever have challenges from clients about that?
The biggest challenge we get is when we take our Millboard sample case to a client's house, and we see the samples they've already got, and you think, right, it's not a struggle, but they clearly don't know the difference between them, and I'm there to tell them the differences. But then it's hard to get them on board sometimes without sounding like you're making a pitch and you're trying to sell them a certain product. You're not. You're just advising the pros and cons and why I'm advising this one. But a lot of people, they say, I just want a great composite, and there's probably 50 products on the market like to choose from. So I'm there to tell them the best ones and why we use them. And quite often I do have to not take the job on, because they are very keen on using a very badly made product that we've learned from. We've installed the bad products in the past. Now we don't, because we know how they react in 2 years' time. We know how they react in 6 months' time when the weather changes, and we don't want that. We just want a product we can install and it will look like that for the time it's in.
So on that sort of maintenance side, are there any tips that you would suggest for maintaining decking, keeping it looking as fresh as possible?
Yeah, so well, we just keeping on top of it really. Like a lot of people have this assumption with porcelain as well that it requires no cleaning. It's a low maintenance, but it still needs a clean every year. But we just tell people to clean it, cover up places where you can over the winter if you're not using it. Take out your rope balustrade, like we leave it all that it can be taken down through the winter. Just cover up stuff you're not using really, and keep on top of it, cleaning it, because everything needs to be cleaned. And we do get some people that leave it for 2 or 3 years and then say it's got build up on it and stuff, but they haven't touched it for ages. So just keeping on top of it really.
You've mentioned a couple of different ways when we've spoken about how you install the product. Can you just talk us through what those options are?
Yeah, so there's different frames to choose from, and different scenarios, which is good. And we mainly install millboard as a product. We install other stuff, but millboard is our go-to product, because their subframes are completely sorted as well, and there is a different subframe for every scenario. If you're over concrete, we can use their pedestal system. If we're on a flat roof, we can use the Durolift system. If we're in a very moist, low to the ground area, we can use the Plaspro. And there's just different scenarios where it's really got us out of trouble. We're working on the floating house in Marlow at the moment, and part of the project is cantilevered into a reservoir, and with the Durospan system we can cantilever the last part of the deck, so that with no issues, and it's as solid as the rest of the deck. However, it is over the Thames, but it's what you can do with the product and what you can do with the frame as well, which is what attracts us. We've even installed timber and other products on the millboard system because the designer has specified a certain product, but the system for the framework just works so well in whatever situation we're in.
Yeah, that sounds complicated. So you've been doing roofing as well, roof terraces and...
Yeah, not roofing, but a lot of people are
roofing.
Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do pedestal systems on roofs with porcelain. We're getting a lot of requests for fire rated products as well, on balconies and schools and retirement homes and stuff, because I think a lot of them are changing to fire rated stuff. So we also do porcelain and decking on pedestals on roofs and balconies quite often.
Do those different spaces come with different challenges?
Yeah, everyone's different. So the biggest issue we come across is most GRP flat roofs and stuff already have a balustrade in at 1100 mil. It's boring, but once we install a deck, it's then under building regs, because then the balcony, the balustrade is in theory too low now.
Yeah.
So then we have to advise the client, and then quite often it ends up the balustrade needs changing, or a different company come in to do that, or it can be tricky. And another one is the customer we don't do roofing. We don't benefit from them having a new roof, but quite often we say to them, you're installing a product that's got a life expectancy of 25 plus years on a felt roof that's clearly not got 25 years left in it. So we try and tell them the options of, is it worth having it looked at first by a roofer or by somebody to see what they think, because you cover up a roof sometimes, but the roof might only have 5 to 10 years left, and you don't really want to be taking the deck up that's been cut round all the posts, all the glass and stuff. So yeah, they're a couple of the challenges we get on the roofs, and another one is the thresholds quite often. But that's why we like the system, because you can get battened down to 30 mil, and we can make it work in a lot of different situations.
So what's next? What's coming up next this year? How does it evolve for you?
Well, we're just looking to work with more people in the APL, and yeah, get a bigger network of people around us to work with and take on some bigger and better projects.
So just going back to the subframes, Jake, when you're going to see people, obviously there's timber subframes, there's the Plas-Pro and the Duospan. What subframe are you installing the most, and which one do you enjoy installing the most? Pros and cons on each, please.
Yeah, so Duospan's our favourite because you can't, it's foolproof, it's dead level, it's like extremely strong. What we find is the labour time's a lot quicker with the Duospan, so it's deceiving when a client looks at the price of a Duospan frame. Sometimes we have to explain to them that the labour time is then reduced. So in fact, it's not that much different to a composite Plas-Pro frame, because our labour time's sped up. But also the advantages with Duospan frame is it is machine flat. It's perfect and can't be wrong, and it's a lot lighter. So when we're using it on roofs and places like that, it's available in 2 different sizes. You can carry a few at a time. You can get it to where you need it better. The Plas-Pro comes with a bit more patience. You have to be a bit more advanced to install it comfortably every time, because you've got to work with it, because it is a composite. So, and composite's designed to move. So you just need to be aware of the rates and tolerances of movement, and work with the product, because you're not going to get it. You will get it perfect, but it might. You've got to work with it. You've got to know your drill sizes. You've got to allow for movement, allow for expansion against walls and stuff like that. Timber, if they do have timber, we only install it on a UC4, and we will only install it with joist tape. And quite often,
What does that mean, mate, for those people that don't know what UC4 is?
UC4 is a class 4 timber, so it's the same treatment as fence posts. Essentially, a joist that we're screwing into, it's not going into the ground, but UC4 is class 4, and it's ground contact treatment. So although it's not touching the ground, we still try and use that only, and with a joist tape, and still use composite posts or concrete posts, so there isn't anything in contact with the ground. But that purely is down to budget. Quite often they never ever compromise on the deck board, because they want a certain product, so they always compromise on the frame. So we have to advise them that a timber frame won't last as long. And quite often the difference, once you add the joist tape in, the composite posts, you use a good timber, the bolts you use and the fixings, the price comparison, unless you're doing 100 square meters, isn't astronomical.
Isn't huge.
No.
And obviously, you know, the deck tape's been around for, I would say, a few years now, would you say? If that?
Yeah, I mean, we've known it, well, it's really like come on, yeah, in the last year or so.
How good is that, would you say? Because we get a lot of good feedback from it.
It's good. You need to know, you need to time it right with the weather and stuff when you're installing it, and it's a little bit of a messy job. You get a lot of tape and stuff everywhere, but essentially you are making, you're hoping that it gives the timber, if you are using timber, a little bit longer. So it's more reassurance than anything, but it's good. It's coming on, and it seems to do the trick. So time will tell.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Jake.
Cheers.
Brilliant, mate.